I lost loved ones. I missed out on college education at the time. I missed out on life.
It's like your life is just taken away from you. It's like turning you upside down and just shaking you till your inside is out.
My entire family died while I was in prison.
I had to fight for 5.5 years for my compensation.
The only other alternative is to get up, and that was not an option.
We a long way from being perfect.
According to a report by the National Registry of Exonerations, official misconduct contributed to the false convictions of 54% of defendants who were later exonerated. However, official findings of misconduct only represent a fraction of the misconduct that actually occurs.
The basic thing that makes official misconduct difficult to identify and to prove is that, like most misconduct, it's hidden. When people do things they're not allowed to do, they don't advertise it, and sometimes they hide it successfully. And one of the effects of that is that most misconduct is not known.
My name is Eric Anderson. I was wrongfully convicted, accused of armed robbery. I served 9 years on a 15 to 22-year sentence. I was exonerated in 2019. I was going to school. I was going to Wayne County Community College. I was 2 weeks away from finals. Later in the fall, I was going to transfer to Michigan State and live my life. April 18th, 2010, I was a victim to gun violence. I went to a Coney Island restaurant after hanging out late at night downtown Detroit to get some food. I went in the establishment, took approximately 2 or 3 steps in the building, and I was shot, catching a bullet to my foot. I hopped out of Coney Island. One of my friends that was in the car, he came and got me, put me in the car, took me to the hospital. I was later released from the hospital about 7:30 in the morning. I was shot at 3 a.m. Well, after I left the hospital, I was out for 10 days. However, on the 10th day after the shooting, I was arrested and charged with armed robbery, which I had nothing to do with.
Misconduct committed by officials includes witness tampering, misconduct in interrogation of suspects, fabricating evidence, concealing exculpatory evidence, and misconduct at trial.
Misconduct is not one thing. First, it's not misconduct by one type of official actor. There are 2 major ones, prosecutors and police officers.
In a report investigating the first 2,400 exonerations of the National Registry's database, police officers committed misconduct in 35% of cases, and prosecutors committed misconduct in 30% of the cases.
Part of prosecutorial misconduct or official misconduct, is telling false statements, telling lies to the people. The prosecutor theory was that ended up being that maybe he was at the Coney Island, but he had enough time to get back to his neighborhood, rob a guy, shoot himself in the foot upon running from the scene, and then make it to the hospital at 3:33. They didn't bring up the fact that the police was called to the robbery scene at about 3:18 in the morning.
The most common type of misconduct that we know of that causes convictions of innocent people is concealing exculpatory evidence.
My hospital records were a part of my file, so I'm not gonna say they just flat out hid them, but they didn't investigate them. They described my entrance and my exit wound on how the bullet came and went out my foot. And if they would have investigated this from the beginning, they would have seen like it wasn't no way possible I could have did it.
In a disturbing number of cases, prosecutors are found hiding evidence in their files that would have directly supported the defendant's innocence. but it was held back by the prosecutor at trial and kept hidden for decades. Some prosecutors prize winning a conviction over complying with their constitutional obligations, resulting in misconduct.
Before trial, they offered me a plea. They offered me probation. No, I'm going to trial. I'm not taking this. Why should I subject myself to this when I'm innocent? People often ask me, well, how did you get wrongfully convicted? Often say I don't know. But I also have to understand the human emotional element that's attached to it. I had a victim in my case saying that I did something to him. People sympathize with the victim, not even acknowledging the fact that I also was a victim. And what y'all doing, y'all traumatizing me even more. That's one of the issues with our criminal justice system is that, you know, they say we presume innocent until proven guilty. It's not that. It's supposed to be that. However, it ended up being something totally different. It ended up being me fighting, trying to show and prove that I was actually innocent and not guilty. After being offered that plea bargain, it damaged me. Because like every time I went to court, I thought that was my day to go home. Michigan Supreme Court denied me. Federal court denied me. I appealed the denial. Denied me. You know, so every stage in my 9 years, I thought I was going home. $30,000 in a lawyer, I thought I was for sure going home. It never came. Until I was represented by the University of Michigan Innocence Clinic. And they believed it. So they got their case together, and them with the Wayne County Conviction Integrity Unit, they got me out.
Eric spent 9 years in prison for a crime he didn't commit, but he's not the only one who's been wrongfully convicted as a result of official misconduct. As of 2024, the National Registry of Exonerations has cataloged 3,514 exonerations since 1989, amounting to more than 31,900 years lost. Official misconduct is a prevailing issue in our justice system, so what can be done to prevent it from happening?
The main one is creating a system in which respect for the rules is a deep part of the culture in which people operate. Getting a system in which there is respect means a variety of things, one of which is policing the system. And when police officers or prosecutors do these things that are wrong, first going through the trouble of detecting it, or if complaints are made, taking them seriously and investigating them, and second, punishing them if it becomes known. And that is not done very much.
There's no penalty for official misconduct. You have a wide range of offenses by officials that we've trusted to serve protect, right? And they end up hurting us. And then after the hurt is done, they get a promotion. My prosecutor right now is a judge. My prosecutor right now is a judge in the very court in which I was wrongfully convicted of. How is this acceptable? You know? When part of the reason in which they have their job it was believed that they wanted to uphold justice. They wanted to do the right thing for their community, or they wanted to protect society. But is corruption a part of that? Is that how you get down the yellow brick road? By corruption? And at the end of the road, you get your pot of gold? It seems like it. And that's the reason why official misconduct exists.
Limited transparency and accountability for police officers committing misconduct greatly contributes to wrongful convictions. Police disciplinary records are currently confidential in 21 states. There are also no reliable systems for holding prosecutors accountable for their misdeeds, because they are frequently granted immunity from civil lawsuits even when they intentionally violate the law.
I think people have gotten used to it or expect misconduct to occur and sometimes don't really think through or realize how serious it is or how dangerous or how much it can ruin people's lives. It's tolerated until something happens that makes one of the cases come to light. What's the problem there again? Well, obviously that nobody cared enough to supervise those police, to respond to those police officers, to respond to complaints, to know the community, to have the type of contacts with the community that would make tolerating this sort of misbehavior unthinkable. It means the police are basically an occupying force who are seen as the enemy by many of the people they police. And for good reason if they do things like that.
When the system that was built to protect my rights fail and violate my rights, it made me feel like I've been lied to my whole life. We talk about how growing up, America is perceived to be perfect, this perfect land. It's false. It's a false sense of justice. It's really injustice. Injustice. It's not equality. It's inequality. It's not freedom. All these things are things that you got to fight for. And I had to fight like hell to get my freedom, justice, and equality. And I'm still fighting to get it. I've tried to battle the issue of official misconduct nowadays by spreading awareness of the issues. Society won't know that official misconduct exists until it's the individual that comes along and let them know what's been going on.
One of the most important things that will reduce some types of misconduct to a great extent is providing more resources to the criminal justice system. In a system that's badly underfunded, it becomes much more tempting and much more likely that people will commit misconduct to make their job easier and faster. More resources for the people who do the primary government work of investigating and prosecuting cases, and more resources for the defense attorneys who keep them honest, are probably the biggest single things that can be done from a distance, from afar. The biggest single thing that can be done within the system is effective, principled leadership.
Change will come. Minds will change. New people will come in and do the right thing. And that's my purpose. I'm just a messenger. So I turn my negative experience into positivity, inspiration, motivation, so somebody else can be productive in society. We a long way from being perfect.